Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Nandi, and if you do know me, welcome back to another video. As you can tell by the title, I know the title's a little scary. The title is a little scary, but we are going to get into that, okay? But before we get into the bulk of this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe. Please, please, please subscribe. You know you want to, okay? You know you want to. Anyway, let's go ahead and start off this video. I just want to start off with a big, huge disclaimer, okay? Everything that I'm talking about in this video is just based upon my opinions, is based upon my personal experience thus far, okay? And I also want to say that this video will be focused on the cons of being a nurse practitioner. Okay, let's just go ahead and get that out there. We're focusing on the cons, okay? So, as you guys know, I'm really big on sharing my journey with you guys. And one thing about it, I always promise myself, and I promise to you guys, that I would keep it 100. I'm going to tell you the truth. I am going to give you everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, okay? So this video, we're focusing on the bad and ugly, okay? So just to make that clear and very transparent. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this video. As you guys know, I always have my notes. So the first con that I have on here in regards to being a nurse practitioner deals with the lack of training when you first start. So as many of you guys know, especially if you are a registered nurse or a RN, when you go into your job as an RN, majority of the times you do have training or a good orientation period, okay? Nurse practitioners typically don't, unless you are doing some type of residency, or unless it is included within your contract that you will have an orientation or training period. If not, you need to expect to pretty much hit the ground running, okay? I don't even think in my personal contract I had anything in there regarding a training period. So first day that I started, I was seeing patients, and that's just that. I pretty much had a verbal brief tutorial about the charting system. And when I say brief, I mean brief. It probably was like 5-10 minutes. And I'm just there, you know, trying to gather everything and take everything in as quick as possible. And so I put in my notes that the first year that you're working as a nurse practitioner, it can be very overwhelming, and you need to be mentally prepared for that, because I mean, you're just gonna be there maybe day one seeing patients. That is what is expected of you. So once again, just be very mentally prepared. Now I will say one benefit is the fact that, you know, obviously the more patients you see, the more experience that you will get. So things will get easier, but it will take time, and you just need to sort of give yourself the grace in knowing that your first year, expect it to be very challenging, but you will get through it. The next con that I have on here, number 2, in regards to being a nurse practitioner, has to do with, I put provider attitude / mood in my notes, but I'm trying to figure out the nicest way to say this. I feel like as a provider, you kind of have to have a different attitude than you may even have as a nurse. As a provider, I feel like you kind of have to command the room a little bit more. I feel like you can't be afraid to be confrontational. You have to walk into that job and stand on business. That's the easiest way to put that. You have to go in there and you have to stand on business. I do not recommend going into the job and being, sadly, quote unquote, too friendly. Unfortunately, you will have to get tough skin. You will have to, you know, and I feel like this is something I have kind of struggled with within my first year, because I never want to feel like I have to change who I am as a person just for a job, if that makes sense. But, you know, a lot of me this year has felt like that. I kind of feel like I have to have this other side of me. Like, it's a provider side, I guess, that I have to turn on and turn off when I walk into the room and when I walk into my job every day. It's a struggle, and I will also say it's a struggle because as nurse practitioners, we're also a nurse first. And so I personally believe, and I feel like that's another part, like nursing school and nursing training, that we're all taught is, number one, you know, always be nice to your nurses, always treat your nurses well, okay? Because, you know, there are a lot of times where your nurses will look after you, and that's also in terms of being a provider too, you know what I mean? Because essentially you would hope that the environment that you are in, everyone is working as a team. But at the same time, once again, you just can't be too friendly. You can't be too friendly. You have to sort of find that balance in that middle line so people know not to play with you, not to mess with you, because you're gonna stand on business, okay? If something's wrong, you're gonna say something about it, and X, Y, and Z. So that's pretty much, you know, all I can say about that. And I also have in here that, you know, if you feel like you're the type of person you don't necessarily have that tough skin, I definitely feel like you will find it. You will find it, and, you know, you will build it, and you will work on it, and it will come. But I just want to give people a heads up about that, because that's not necessarily something I expected. I feel like when starting as a nurse practitioner, and a lot of people ask me about, you know, the transition process, and I feel like that's one big thing that people need to keep in mind. If you were working as a nurse and now you're going into that provider role, your attitude, how you handle things, a lot of things have to sort of switch or change. If you're not already a person that is like that, these are things that you have to keep in mind, because it is something that you will have to do when it comes to working as a nurse practitioner. Number 3, the third con that I have on my list, is that it is a very, very, very high stress job. High stress job. Let me emphasize that. High stress job. I know right now in today's society too, especially when it comes to women, you know, women, we're all kind of about that. Oh, we want to live our soft life, you know. Being a provider, baby, it is not giving soft life. I will say that it is not giving soft life, at least in terms of, I can say personally for me and what I do. Of course, there are different specialties. There are different ways that you can go, X, Y, and Z. I know you guys know this. I'm talking about myself, and I can say for me, it has not been giving soft life. It has been giving hard life. It has been giving stressful life. It has been giving all of those things. There is no reason. There's a reason, but there's also no reason why I literally can be in the middle of dinner or lunch with my friends, and in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, you know, did Johnny take his Flovent today? Like, oh, like, I hope he's okay. You know what I mean? It's just constant. I feel like within your mind, like you're always thinking about something. You're always thinking about a patient. It's just, girl, it is literally, it's crazy. It's crazy. The next con that I have on here is the lack of compensation for the amount of responsibility. That is my next con. As a nurse practitioner, you are doing every single thing a physician would do. Everything. Pretty much everything. And obviously, as a nurse practitioner, you are not being paid the same amount as a physician. So a lot of the times you will question, you will in your head, if the amount of work, if the amount of stress, if the amount of responsibility is worth it for the pay that you are receiving. Whew. The next con that I have on here is the fact that you are never really off the clock as a provider. RNs, when you go in, you do your charting, you see your patients, you take care of your patients that day, you clock out, you're pretty much passing the baton over to the next nurse or, you know, whoever else is covering your shift that day, right? As a nurse practitioner, you're never off the clock. You're never off the clock. So as you guys see from some of my vlogs that I have posted recently, I am charting frequently at home. There are times where I have to check in on my patients or the labs or imaging that I have ordered on some patients even when I am not in the office. So yes, you know, I technically quote unquote in contract work 4 days a week, but baby, it's giving pretty much always on call. I'm pretty much always on call because even if it's a Wednesday and it's my off day, if one of the other providers calls me and has a question about a patient that I saw, I have to answer the question. I have to pick up that phone call. My charts have to be submitted within 42 hours, which is pretty much baseline for all providers that I have so far witnessed and heard of. So charts, they have to be done. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. They have to be done. So that is something that you really should keep in mind as a provider, or if you are someone that is trying to become a provider. You are never off the clock, ever. The next bullet point that I have on here, which I feel like isn't really discussed enough, is the fact that medicine truly, especially in the United States, baby, medicine is a business. I hate to say that, but it's very much so true. Medicine is a business. Medicine is a business. And with that being said, you have to expect a heavy patient load. For us, we are expected to see maybe 20 to 27 patients a day, but a cap on our schedule for me as the nurse practitioner is 27 patients. That's a lot of patients. A lot of patients, especially if, like I said, you're seeing those amount of patients every single day. Another con, as a provider, people never really want to see you take off. They never really want you to take off. So it's really sad. Like, even for me, I pretty much only have 3 major holidays off. I have Christmas Day, I have Thanksgiving, and I have July 4th. Even this upcoming Monday when I'm filming this, Labor Day, a girl will be laboring. I have work. MLK Day, I was at work. You know, like, people want you to secure the bag, especially if you are working for a private practice, especially anywhere, but private practices too. Your bosses, baby, they want to see that money come in. They never want you to be off. With that being said, I also put on here breaks. You don't get the same amount of breaks as a provider that you would as a RN. Like, as a RN, a lot of times, especially in hospitals, you know, people can, you know, let you go to lunch. They, you know, you have somebody else, like I said, to sort of pass that baton to. Whereas in the provider role, you know, if that's something that you're used to, getting those constant breaks, you need to expect to not have that as a provider. Because even if you're done seeing patients at a certain time, you know, patients are still coming in. So like, for example, usually lunch for us is around 12:30 to 1:30. But let's say I ran tests, I had a whole bunch of sick people come in during my morning half, and I don't get done seeing patients until 1 o'clock. That next afternoon patient is scheduled for 1:30, whether I'm done at 1 o'clock or not. You know, whether I'm done at the time I'm supposed to be done or not, they're still coming at 1:30. Thus, you know, if you have 30 minutes to eat your lunch, you have 30 minutes to eat your lunch. If you want to, you know, be that provider that stands on business and just be like, forget it, I'm gonna take my hour regardless of when these next half of these patients are coming in, then, you know, you can do that. Okay, you can do that. And sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. It truly depends on my mood and how badly I want to go home, to be honest. Because sometimes I'm just like, I'll take my 20-30 and just get to it because I would like to go home on time. Sometimes I'm just like, I really need the full hour today. I really need my break. I really need my rest, and I take the full hour. So just something to keep in mind. The next bullet point that I have on here is that it is very easy to get burned out, I feel like, as a provider, especially with the heavy patient load. So as you guys know, I have a contract at my job. I am working, quote unquote, 4 days a week. And I say this very strongly here on this video. I personally, if you can, even though, you know, like I said, you're always kind of on call, but if you can find a 4-day position, I do recommend working 4 days, because I feel like the amount of work and stress that I feel on the daily, I could not imagine doing this 5 days. That's just me being honest. I literally could not. So if you can, once again, secure a 4-day position. Another con that I have on here is sort of a personal con, and it deals more with myself and for those who are interested in pediatrics. And I feel like this is something that is not really discussed enough. I feel like when it comes to pediatrics and children, there's also pretty much another layer of feeling burnt out, because I feel like with kids, sometimes you kind of have to force yourself to be happy or to be in a more upbeat mood, because that is the patient population that you are dealing with. And let's be honest, we're all human. There's no way nobody is happy 24/7. Nobody is happy and jolly 365 days a year. And so I feel like sometimes that can be another reason why, you know, personally, I feel also burnt out, because sometimes, like, life happens, like I said, and you can be having a horrible day. But I feel like with kids, you can't really walk into the room and just be like, you know, hey guys, what's going on? When did it start? You know, I feel like a part of you kind of has to perk up just a little bit because of the patient population that you're dealing with young kids. And I feel like also when it comes to parents, you also don't want to, you know, put on that face of, yeah, like, I really don't want to be here, I'm really in a bad mood, because then I feel like parents also, maybe not, but I feel like, you know, they probably gonna judge you just a little bit if you coming in there like blah. They're gonna be like, why is she, you know, like, why is she here? Why is she working with kids? So that's something else to keep in mind for all of the people that are following me in my journey and are interested in pediatrics. Last but not least, I have here on my list, it can be hard to balance as a provider. I feel like taking care of other people all the time and still trying to find times to pour into yourself, to pour into your cup. And that is something I feel like I have been struggling with a lot this year. I feel like, you know, even little things I really like to do, like, for those of you who follow me for a while, you guys know I have been like an Orange Theory stan. Baby, Orange Theory has not seen me in months. And I do go to like my apartment gym. If you guys watch my vlogs, I do try to work out that way. But it's just very challenging. I feel like a lot of times you find that you just want to rest. You just want to lay down and do nothing, to be honest. And you have to find that balance of taking care of yourself, but also giving yourself, once again, the grace when you need it, the rest when you need it, the ability to allow yourself to do nothing when you need it, when you feel it, because this is such a giving occupation. And you know, it's just something to really keep in mind. So I can't really necessarily say that I myself have navigated this completely. It's something that I still work on week to week. Like, I try to set my goals, like, okay girl, this week we need to work on this. Most recently, last weekend, I put like notes in my phone about just things that I want to incorporate into my day-to-day routines to help, you know, pour into myself, to pour into my cup, things that I can do to sort of just be better in that aspect. But it's very challenging. It's very challenging. So for all the people that can, once again, if you can work 4 days, work 4 days. Baby girl, if you can work part-time, work part-time. Because it is a lot. It really truly is. And it's just something that you really need to take note of, and it's something that you guys should know. So I pretty much very briefly went over all of my current cons. Baby, this may need a part 2. This may need a part 2. But these are the cons that I have noticed the most, I would say, during my first year of working as a nurse practitioner. And I just wanted to share them with you guys because once again, I feel like you guys deserve to know. These are things that I wish that I knew. These are the truths that I wish that I knew before working as a nurse practitioner. And had to share it, girl. Once again, just had to share it. So I really hope that you guys like this video. I hope that you found this video more so just informative, especially if you're somebody that is kind of considering whether or not you want to go back to school to be a nurse practitioner, whether or not you're in your nurse practitioner program right now. These are things that you should know. And I hope that it was helpful some way, somehow for you guys. Definitely share this video with your other friends, your other, you know, colleagues, your other RNs, whoever is thinking or considering about being a nurse practitioner. Share this video with them as well. And, you know, like I said, keeping it 100, giving you guys the truth, the tea, the full tea at that, the full tea. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.